Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode here on the J72 Gaming channel. My name is Jacob, but you can just call me Jay here. Today I've got a pretty exciting video, a part one of a two-part video collection where I want to show off every named location in Path of Titans. Now, Path of Titans has just had a huge update where they've released the ability to join modded maps with modded dinosaurs and the like, but today I want to focus back on their original map of Panjura. This video is going to be covering half of the locations, and not only will you get to see a cinematic shot of the location, but I'll give my opinion on each spot, as well as some of the nearby plants, insects, nuts, and corpses that are nearby, so that you can use this video to help you get your quests done, while also giving you a cool understanding of the map overall. Now, Panjura's map doesn't have any human locations or giant mountains or anything like that, but what it does have, and what it does do very well, is interesting natural locations. Things like canyons, swamps, hidden caves, islands, and quaint little coves and such are all tucked away on this map. So today, let's dive into Panjura and see just what secrets it holds. If you guys like this video, please drop me a rating and subscribe if you find it interesting or helpful. This video took quite some time to get all the footage, script out my thoughts on each location, and I swear half the time was spent just making sure our awesome cameo dinosaur Speedy Boi here was fed and snacking on termites and ants. But without much further ado, make sure you all sit back, kick back, go grab a snack, and let's get into part one of all the named locations in Path of Titans. So Panjura's map is huge, and like I said, I needed to split this video into two parts, and I also decided to map out the locations from the southeast to the northwest, for no real good reason other than that is where Speedy Boi first spawned when I wanted to start recording all these shots, so we're going to be doing things a little bit backwards today. I'll be using this map from time to time during this video to show off specific spots, and on here you can see icons explaining which resources is located where. Here's the key to all of these icons, so feel free to pause here and nab a screenshot. Lake Pleasant is our first location, and although I was there during the deep foggy weather of Path of Titans, I do find it quite a pleasant location. Because it's tucked away in the corner of the map, you can usually trust this spot as quiet and safe to hang out for a while. It's full of fish for those pescivores in the game, and just north you can find a ton of acorns and even a downed corpse to munch on. Next up is Redhills Haven. Now, Redhills Haven is one of the first locations we have today that is essentially just a ton of rocks piled up in a creative way high up on a hill. While these spots do not always have water, they generally are full of resources for you to make use of. Here we can find berry bushes and a red ginger in plentiful amounts, and there's even a corpse and a salt rock nearby to munch on. Pleasant Pond is much like its older brother Lake Pleasant, just a smaller and even more quiet spot in the map. Here you can find respite while munching on fish, scallops, conches, and berries. There's also acorns that can be found here as well. This spot is very relaxing, and I do look forward to returning here soon. Heading out west just a bit from these first few locations is our first look at a river system. This whole area is simply called Riverland and is quite a beautiful chunk of land. Complete with ponds at both ends of the river, the system has been a tiered waterfall complex, which is quite the sight to behold. This corpse you see here is not a placed corpse, so this unfortunate soul likely slipped off the cliffs above to an untimely death. Watch your step here, folks. Some of the resources around here are insects and berries to feast on, as well as lychee, amanita, melons, rafflesia, and buttons for you to collect. Next up is the Sinkhole, which is our first of our pit-like locations on the list today. This spot is pretty sweet, and you'll have to be careful not to drop in from above on accident. The entrances to the sinkhole are on the northern and southern side, which will grant you access down to the berry bush, acorns, and buttons to eat and loot nearby. Conveniently, there is also a small pond to drink at, so this may prove to be a good place to grow or nest for a while once those mechanics are in the game. There is also a downed corpse, but that's actually just a bit more west out of the sinkhole, so this spot is neat and ranks pretty high on my list of interesting spots here in Panjura. Just northwest of the sinkhole is a very secluded spot called Rockledge Haven. This haven is pretty true to its name, as it is a very hidden rock complex which you need to either enter by cave or by sloped rocky entrances. Sadly, there are no resources or water nearby, but it's still a pretty cool spot nonetheless. Moving more west on our adventure here, we come across the first of a few grasslands. This open plains area hosts a ton of food and resources for herbivores to make use of. Berry bushes, red ginger, tiger nuts, and buttons are plentiful out here. In the southern area of the zone are 2 lakes, large enough to house a decent bit of fish and scallops for the carnivore players, so while this place can be used as a haven to hang out and survive, make sure you are wary of the likely Sarco players patrolling the lakes of this grassland spot. Speedy Boi here is watching intently as to not be this Sarco's next meal. Sandpit Haven is next, and similarly to Rockledge Haven, it's a cool rock complex spot that can provide for some shelter out here in this aggressive dinosaur world. While it holds no resources within it like the other haven, just north of it you can find water, berries, lychees, acorns, and a yarrow, as well as a small river to drink, so decent spot all in all. Alright, next up is one of my favorite spots in this game that I found during all of this map scouting. And we have a bit of a longer clip to reflect that as well. Welcome to Redwood Wind, a hidden complex of downed trees, canyons, large rock formations, and a secluded watering hole. Because I grew up in California, I find it hard not to feel a sense of security and restfulness when near these large trees. The downed trees make for some unique and interesting bridges here, allowing you to traverse up, down, and around this maze of an area. For our smaller dinosaurs, this place can really be a safe haven, as you'll be able to run around and use all of these rocks and trees as cover or as quick obstacles for your pursuer to trip over. Now, there is really only one source of button here to collect, so while not very resource heavy, I did find a downed corpse that was not on this map. So carnivores can make use of this place as their home for a while, a bit easier than our herbivore friends. Overall, a fantastic spot that really shows off how Path of Titans can take a simple natural feature and make it very visually stunning. Continuing our journey west, we reach the southwest corner of the map, and honestly, this spot in the map is quite interesting to explore. Starting off here at Pinnacle Hill, this hill is extremely resource friendly. Complete with a vista view at the top of the surrounding area, here you can collect red ginger, amanita mushrooms, and rusalas. There is also a downed corpse near the top, and the summit holds a victory salt rock to celebrate your mountaineering accomplishments. Just south of Pinnacle Hill is another one of Panjura's hidden gems. The Two Falls Hollow has a ton of interesting rivers winding its way down from the World's Edge Falls, which we will visit in just a minute. These rivers flow down into the Two Falls Hollow, which is this beautiful pond location housing plentiful fish and resources nearby. Speedy Boi, our Struthiomimus, found a nice little bath spot to hang out in and rest from all this adventuring I was forcing him to do. So good on you, Speedy Boi, you deserve it. The resources in this location can mainly be found south of the hollow and consist of berries, tiger nuts, roots, melons, rusula, and yarrow. Good collecting spot for sure if you can make it out this far south. If you follow the rivers west upriver from the Two Falls Hollow, you'll come to a junction in the river system. One leads to Swampy Pit, and the other leads to the World Edge Falls. So let's check out Swampy Pit first. The Swampy Pit is, well, just that. A swampy, damp, and secluded pit of water. So honestly, not much more to say about this place other than it's a decent source of water. However, heading the other route on that river junction will lead you to one of the most grand and dynamic waterfalls this game has to offer. Living up to its name, the World Edge Falls is literally on the edge of this game's map in the southwest corner. Here you can find like, I don't know, 3 to 5 huge waterfalls which you will definitely need to be careful around. I'm not so sure what happened to those ceratops, but, well, they definitely didn't survive the falls. Areas like these are what make exploring the map so interesting to me, as natural formations can be quite varied in their appearance. I was pleasantly surprised to explore the spot, and I hope you guys make the trip out here too. As for just north of the World Edge Falls, we have another grassland area. This whole southwest corner of the map is brimming full of resources and food for dinosaurs to survive on. Truly a hidden hotspot. Here you can find plenty of downed corpses to eat, a huge host of berry bushes, as well as tiger nuts, red ginger, ant and termite hills, lychee berries, button, milkcap, and one of the most dense areas of acorns I've seen yet. Okay, so just north of the southwest corner of the map is this section absolutely packed full of locations. 20 locations or more to be specific. All packed into these 4 quadrants of the map. So let's tackle all of these just a bit faster than the last few in a rapid fire session, as most of them are fairly similar. Starting again in the southeast, we've got the Traveler's Basin. This spot acts as the drainage catch for all the rivers we are going to be talking about, and another one of Panjura's larger lakes. As another one of Panjura's larger lakes, it's very visually stunning. However, I couldn't find any fish on the map key, so I'm not sure how good it is for fish eaters. Following the river up north, we have the Triad Falls and the Bend. These both being a fairly simple waterfall and, well, a bend in the river. But what is a bit more interesting nearby is the Half Heart Canyon, which is a pretty fun name to say. Half Heart. Anyway, this spot is another one of those haven-like rock complexes where you can hide away down below in a secluded location. Half Heart has a ton of lychee berries for you to loot, as well as an anthill, so a pretty good place for our insect eaters. Let's go and continue to follow our river here as it leads north into the mire. Here we have one of the more legitimate swamp locations in the map, a place that visually looks very stinky, but a good place to vibe for our Suko players to hang out in. Up above the waterfall is this cool little cave spot where Speedy Boi took yet another well-deserved rest. Following the river just a bit more north, we can find Drop Off Lake. So when I first arrived here, I was like, why is this called Drop Off Lake? Well, I made Speedy Boi take a plunge into the water and look below, and, well, I got my answer. This lake is deep, and it's honestly one of the deepest, smaller lakes this game has to offer. So if you're looking for a really cool river system with swamps, deep ponds, rivers, canyons, and a huge lake at the end of it, come check out this whole river system in the southwest of the map. I think these are a few locations along the river alone can keep many type of dinosaurs alive, but that's not all that this area has to offer. Taking a look back at the map here, let's keep focusing on these 4 quadrants of the map. You can see it's mainly focused on that river system I just mentioned leading from Drop Off Lake down to the Traveler's Basin, but let's look at some of the hidden spots around this river. The main noteworthy spot down here is the southwest Waystone. Now these stones are used to help summon your group mates across the map to your location. These spots are always in cool spots, and this one doesn't really disappoint. Tucked down in a secluded rock cave, this mossy area houses away the Waystone in a dome-like structure. Very cool Waystone spot if you ask me. Just south of that Waystone is a fairly unnoteworthy pond called Crater Pond, and similarly enough to that, just north of the Waystone is a place called Swamp Home Cave, which ended up being just another pond. I couldn't locate the cave in the swamp that's supposed to be a home, but yeah, it is what it is. More west of the stone, however, is something fairly noteworthy, and that is the Mossy Cavern. Like many of the other cool rock complexes in this game, this one has you heading down into a rock canyon. However, what I like specifically about this place is the river that runs through it, or a creek rather, giving the whole area a wet, mossy vibe to match its name. North of the Mossy Cavern is another mossy area called the Gully Haven. And like the other havens in this game, this is a secluded circular spot that makes me very impatient for nesting, as it is a perfect place to hunker down. It's quiet, quaint, and secluded. Perfect for staying safe. This whole area around the southwest Waystone is a hot spot for lychee berries, so if that's your quest objectives, I highly recommend heading down here for these. But besides those, ants and termites are plentiful, as well as a few berry bushes as well. Carnivores may struggle here unless they stick to the fish around the waterways. Okay, let's head back north to the last 2 of these 4 quadrants. Here we have the Hunter's Thicket, hiding away. I've mentioned this spot in one of my previous Path of Titans videos, but I really like this spot mainly based off its name alone. I love playing the lone hunter in video games, using quiet spots like this as a base of operation while following the tracks of my prey. So while this Hunter's Thicket in-game is really just another quiet watering hole, I really like it basically because of the name. Heading back east from the Hunter's Thicket, we get to 3 spots that honestly I think could have just been the same location. Star Ravine, Arc Mountain, and Green Plateau are all a rocky cliff location, with the ravine at the bottom, the mountain being the slope up, and the plateau being the flat location up at the top. So while geographically different, it's gonna kind of feel like the same spot more or less when playing and exploring. They're also visually, I don't know, just kind of simple. What does make up for a bit more interesting landscape though is the Snake Gully. Snake Gully here lives up to its name, as the gully snakes left, right, up and down, around the rocks and fallen trees of the area. Speedy Boi had a good old time roaming here, and I think you may as well. Speaking of areas that you may have a good time in, just east of the Snake Gully is a spot I hung out in my very last Path of Titans video with Scrappy the Dino Rock Den. Now, Rock Den at first may seem like one of those boring ponds this game has. However, upon further exploring, you'll find that the terrain around Rock Den can really be utilized well for little dinosaurs to roam and scamper up and down the rocks. Not to mention the plentiful amount of tiger nuts and buttons able to be gathered around here. So overall, I like Rock Den, and I'll likely try nesting here in the future. Pretty underrated spot in my opinion. Okay, let's finish off the last two locations in this jam-packed section of the map. Next up is the Dome, which, just like the Rock Den, is a fantastic nesting location. The Dome is quite literally a rock dome, making for a sheltered location for your dinosaurs to hunker down. Conveniently too, there's a berry bush right smack in the middle. How about that? And the last spot in these 4 quadrants, Forest Rise. Man, what an unnoteworthy spot. It's literally just a forest, and I guess it's risen a bit above the surrounding land. So, honestly, not much to mention here, guys. Alright, so that's it for the jam-packed western quadrants. Let's move just a bit east here. Here we have Grass Gully, a large zone with quite a few things to mention here. At its first appearance, it's just another one of those rocky canyons, but I really do like the tree here for this epic shot of Speedy Boi looking quite majestic. Take a look at the map, however, and you can see that there's a whole river and lake associated with the spot. I didn't get it on camera, but you can see it's full of plenty of food like termites, berries, downed corpses, and almost every type of resource around the area. Acorns, melons, red ginger, button, conches, etc. This spot is quite a good quest hub for that reason. Okay, now there's one more spot I'd like to mention before we get into a brief intermission, because boy oh boy, there are a lot of spots in this map to mention. North of the Grass Gully river system is this sick location called the Rock Maze, and it lives up to its name. While the Panjura map does have a lot of these rocky areas that could be considered a maze due to their random and haphazard nature, this spot has cranked it up to the extreme. Speedy Boi made a stego friend while he was exploring this area for us, so while you may get lost, you may also just find a friend. Speaking of friends, it's time for a quick intermission clip. While exploring the map for this episode, I ran into 3 huge iguanodons. It was pretty neat to see these players migrating, as most of the interactions you have in Path of Titans currently is either players AFKing around Corpse Cove and using the game as kind of like a chat room, or attacking you on the spot for food or for sport. Nothing is really wrong with either of those ways to play, but it was really cool to run into a herd literally just kind of being realistic and migrating and moving through the world. So shout out to these Iguanodon players. I'm sure they were kind of curious about Speedy Boi here, but they played nice. Okay, quick intermission over. Let's dive back into the meat of this video. So let's take a look just above those 4 quadrants where we were so heavily focused on earlier, and let's take a look north of them to these 2 spots, the Swamp Reservoir and the Redwood Basin. Both of these locations are fairly large spots on the map, and the Swamp Reservoir itself is a neat lake with this cool little reservoir of water off to one side of it. The place has the usual berries and ants nearby to snack on, but besides that, it's just another one of the pretty and relaxing pools to hang out on in the map. The other spot, however, is much more exciting, but perhaps that goes back to me liking redwood trees again, so I might be biased. This spot is the Redwood Basin, and is unique in the fact that it has a lake surrounded by the redwoods. Here Speedy Boi bumped into a thirsty Ceratops who wasn't too keen to talk to me, sadly, but besides that and the rain, it was a pretty nice place. Resources here are also plentiful. Fish, insects, meat, and nearly 1 node of every type of collectible as well. Solid spot. So now that we've covered the southwestern corner of the map fairly well, let's go ahead and zoom back over here east again and tackle the locations around the southeastern Waystone before we head north around the Spine Lizard Lagoon, and we'll finish off the parts around Corpse Cove. So way out here in the east we have Aperture Pass, which will do what it must because it can. Small Portal joke there. Anyway, this spot is really another cool rock complex that you can call home. Sheltered here from the weather, in here you can find another extremely dense hotspot of lychees, with a patch of amanita mushrooms and acorns not too far off. Speedy Boy here loved this rock, so make sure to grab some cake here if you visit as well. Let's move back west here, and we will zigzag our way back north. Over here we have another one of the Waystones, this time the southeastern Waystone. This one they have tucked down in a gulch of sorts. I still find it really cool that all these Waystones have interesting rock formations around them, and that Path of Titans has gone and made each of them and every one of them unique. It's pretty neat. It's also worth mentioning this spot is one of the best spots to gather roots, so if you need roots for your quest, head on down to the southeast Waystone. Up next in our list is Green Valley, which honestly doesn't have too much going on for it as far as resources go. There is one single termite mound, so that's nice, but generally it's a valley that is green. So it's got some cool down trees to explore, but let's move on to something more unique. And a more unique spot we have, with the river system coming from Deep Lake and flowing down into this area called the Riverland. The Deep Lake itself is pretty par for the course as far as Path of Titans lakes go, and Speedy Boy didn't really want to get wet, but I'm going to assume that the lake is fairly deep. Could be a fun place to explore as an aquatic dino. The river run running south out of the lake made for a fun highway for Speedy Boy to race down. Halfway through the river run, he ran into a pesky carnivore who thought he could match Speedy Boy's speed, but of course, he wasn't going to catch our racing champion here. The river winds its way down to a few more ponds, of which you can find a ton of acorns, fish, and berry bushes. It's also worth mentioning that just southwest of Deep Lake is a huge hotspot for all of these resources. Definitely another gathering paradise in this area. Okay, now for Hoodoo Hills, which is not only one of the most interesting titles of a location to say, but is also one of the more interesting and unique spots on the map overall. I mean, check out this place. Hoodoo Hills has these odd rock formations, something you usually see out of the deserts of western United States with windswept arches and odd rocks appearing to be stacked on top of each other. Nowhere else in the southern half of the map can you find these odd rocks, so it's definitely one of the more visually different spots Panjura has to offer. As for resources, there's not so much directly in the Hoodoo Hills, just some berry bushes. But as I mentioned previously, there are a ton of resources just slightly south of this place, so combined with the water source of Deep Lake, it can make for a very interesting place to live. Northwest of the Hoodoo Hills, but south of the popular Spine Lizard Lagoon, we have another river system to explore. This river is just named River on the map, but I found it to be called the Red River in-game. This river is expansive and full of boulders all along the banks and shores. This makes the river a bit more safe for smaller dinosaurs to hang out, because they can hide and definitely use the rocks as a safe haven once nesting actually comes out. As for resources, this place has plenty of buttons for y'all to pick. Enjoy. Alright, heading north of Red River here, we have one of the more famous and popular spots in the map currently, and that is Spine Lizard Lagoon. We've got a few clips here to explore with the lagoon. So Spine Lizard Lagoon actually consists of 3 lagoons, 2 connected by rivers and 1 smaller isolated lake to the north. What this creates is a field in the middle of all these lakes full of termites and berries for herbivores and insects to eat, while also corralling these dinosaurs into an easily locatable area for carnival players to hunt. This spot is very popular nowadays, as it is a place nearby Corpse Cove, but just far enough to be its own ecosystem of activity. You can see here in this clip, I ran into many different types of players and creatures, and in some of my other Path of Titans series, I have come here, and most of the time, I've seen players. It seems to be a hotspot for players who prefer realistic gameplay, rather than the chat room style hangout spot that we will see at the end of this video with Corpse Cove. A big reason both Spine Lizard Lagoon and Corpse Cove are so popular may be helped by the fact that the central Waystone is located between these 2 spots. Like the other Waystones we have visited in this video, this Waystone is surrounded by cool rock formations which make a sort of raised amphitheater of sorts. Speedy Boy ran into some large carnivores when visiting here, and you can actually see this Spino being summoned in. Magic in action! Alright, so heading back west from Spine Lizard Lagoon, we have the Pine Step Haven. Now, while this haven isn't as much of a rock shelter as some of the other havens we've seen today, this one is essentially a huge hillside staircase, which makes for a very scenic and interesting ascent up the mountain to the lagoons above. although it's painfully is lacking any sort of food or resources, so while it's cool to travel through, make sure not to linger here for too long. Somewhere nearby that you can spend hours hanging out in, however, is the Little Stoner Pond. I mean, the Little Stone Pond. Here you can, like, chill out, you can, like, relax, you can vibe, and, like, generally take in all the Pond of Stone has to offer, man. Make sure to head out here about 20 minutes past 4 to really get the full experience the pond has to offer. Little Stone Pond, a place for the lovers of all things stone. Okay, guys, moving out west, we have the Flock Pond River System, which leads down into the Cascade Waterfalls. Now, this spot rivals the World Edge Falls, and may be the most impressive waterfall system that we have available in Panjura. I mean, take a look at it. The river splits into multiple routes down into the lake below, which is full of fish, by the way, and lives up to its name by cascading down a ton of different falls. Honestly, some of the shots here are gorgeous, and it does bum me out a bit that it was nighttime when I visited here with Speedy Boi for this footage. On top of this place being a beautiful sight to behold, we have a ton of lakeside food to make use of, with scallops and clams lining the shores, as well as a decent bit of amanita mushrooms up top at Flock Pond. Overall, I'm a big fan of the spot, and it's worth checking out for sure on your adventure through Panjura. Okay, let's head just a bit southeast from the Cascades to a small hidden spot called Titans Pass. This spot is really just another passageway, similar to the Pine Step Haven we just discussed. This pass connects the Cascade water system with the soon-to-be-shown-off Blackwater Bayou. So while it's just a simple passageway, this rock formation here really does live up to its name. The boulders tower above you as you make your way through the pass, and really gives you a grand, larger-than-life vibe as these titan-sized rocks loom above you. Simple spot, but cool. What it leads down to, however, is the Blackwater Bayou, this primo swamp lake in all of Panjura. This spot is perfect for that Suko or Soccer player looking for a place to call their own. It's secluded off the western side of the map and is home to plentiful amounts of fish, clams, and scallops to munch on. There is also potentially no better spot for acorns. As you can see here on the resource map, there are at least 6 spawns nearby. There's also this small extra water source hidden just up here above the bayou, which may serve as your secret drink spot if the quality of the main bayou gets too low. Okay, guys, I really like this spot, and I apologize for the horrible southern accent there, but it really does get me in the mood for some southern traditions and cuisine. So we're really closing in on the end of this video now. We have 7 more spots to explore before we've seen half of the map Panjura has to offer. North of the Blackwater Bayou is this little spot called Fang Basin. Now, this is another one of those fairly simple rock ponds, but I like this one as it's very hidden away due to the rocky cliffs all around it. Not the easiest place to stumble upon. You'll have to make your way here intentionally for sure. It's got a ton of insects to rely on if you need, and it's another good spot for lychee berries. There's also a second watering hole just northeast of it that I did not actually go check out, so perhaps there is still some spots left for you all to go explore yourself. I wonder what could be up there. So Rockfall Hill is next, and honestly when I first got here, I was confused as to why it had a name. However, you can see by this clip that it's actually the name for this whole slope. It's basically literally a hill where the rocks have fallen. This whole hillside looks to be a wash, and has some downed trees, boulders, and the like strewn across its landscape. So, while I initially thought it was a fairly unnoteworthy, boring location, upon closer inspection, it proved to be yet another unique natural area the developers of this game have put some time into making it special. Some of these spots in this game may look boring or simple and similar to each other at the start, but really taking time to look at the natural features of the spot will show off some spots that have something unique to offer, and that's pretty dang cool. As for another cool, unique natural formation, we have the next spot of Overhang Haven. This haven is similar to Pine Step Haven, where it is not a shelter location, but rather a passageway up and down the nearby cliffs. Overhang Haven has a ton of very steep and sheer drop-off cliffs along this run of the mountain, and only has a few spots where you can actually slip through to get up or down. It really goes to show off how much higher in elevation that entire last section of the map I just went through, from the Cascades up to Fang Basin, is, and this cliff reflects that. Down below this mountainous area is another small secluded spot called Little Bone Canyon. We've seen plenty of these types of spots today, being the small haven-like canyon passes, but this one feels even more secluded as it's very, very tiny. Does come complete with a little watering hole though. Okay, we're down to the last 3 spots in today's videos. First of those 3 up is not super notable, but is called the Little Pond. Speedy Boi did bump into a few dinosaurs while out here though, so this pond is highly trafficked due to its close proximity of Corpse Cove. Full of buttons, tiger nuts, and berries around here too. Just south of the Little Pond is what I think may actually be the most unique location to get to out of all the locations shown off today. So save the best for almost last. And that is the pit. Now I spent a good 5 minutes trying to find the location to this pit, or the entrance rather, and check it out. I found it. Hidden here in this rock is a very small cave, too small for many of the large dinosaurs to even get into. If you follow this cave down, it will wind and turn around for a bit before opening up into the bottom of the pit. How cool is that? While I was exploring this place, however, I came across 2 carnivores who were not very interested in sharing this little small pit with me, so I was chased out. The pit itself does have water as well as a downed corpse inside, so if you're looking for that hard to reach spot to hunker down as a smaller carnivore, this spot may just be your hidden sanctuary. Okay, last but certainly not least, Corpse Cove. Now this is the premier and most popular spot for the entire map of Path of Titans. It always has a large host of players and can be a guaranteed fighting arena if you come here looking for a brawl. But I will warn you, this spot is more like a chat room location than it is a realistic, immersive dinosaur location. Players will hang about, some getting into random fights, but a lot of them will just gang up on a single player once that combat starts. So don't expect fair fights here. It can be pretty fun just to throw your dinosaur into a scuffle here and see how much damage you can dish out, but trust me, you will not last long. Personally, I don't like this spot as much as the other locations around the map, but its noteworthiness is unmatched in the game, and I figured it was a very solid place to go ahead and end this video on. Alright everybody, I hope you enjoyed that exploration video showing off every location in the Path of Titans. This was obviously only half of the map, so please stay tuned for part 2 coming out very soon. The Panjura map is a fantastic accomplishment in natural environment design, so I have a blast exploring the nooks and crannies of this map. If you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a like, and perhaps share it with some of the other Path of Titan players you know, because it took quite a while to make. I want to thank you all for taking the time to watch this video, folks, and if you'd like to subscribe and join the Sauropod squad, I would love to have you join the herd. And if you like Discords, we just opened up one for all of us to chat and vibe in. Invite link is in the description below. So that's it from me, folks. So from me and my trusty exploring partner, Speedy Boi, we thank you again for watching and hope you have a good rest of your day. Until next time all, peace out.